Today, we rebuild Newcastle using this deadly 4-2-4 tactic with the aim of winning the Premier League and also the Champions League. If you do enjoy the rebuilds on this channel, be sure to leave a like, drop a little subscription and also turn on that notification bell so you never miss another upload or a live stream again. So, we are now into the first season and we have already sort of started from last season's finish, if that makes sense. So, we are going to be in the Champions League in this first season. I've actually already gone ahead and done the transfers because there's a lot of players coming in and a few players going out. Now, as you can imagine with Newcastle, you get an obscene amount of money. We got £252 million. 252 million pounds to spend, a ridiculous figure. And the whole point of this rebuild is going to be to try and obviously make this team as good as we can by getting rid of some of the older players. Obviously, they've got some players in the team which aren't really going to cut the mustard going further forwards, the likes of the Longstaffs and things like that. Great characters, but realistically, there are better options out there on the market. But we are going to go ahead now and go into the transfers and actually see what we've done in the first season. So, as you can see, there is going to be a couple of pages, but the first signing we bring in is going to be Ugarte from Sporting for £52 million. And then the first page of players going out, probably not too many people that you're going to worry about too much. Nothing that is really going to affect us going forwards. On the next page, however, there are some players coming in. £178 million worth of players. Conrad Lima from RB Leipzig on the free, an absolutely brilliant signing. We are going to look at these players more in depth in a second, by the way. Rico Henry from Brentford for £55 million. Patson Daka from Leicester for £34 million. I'm not going to say his name because I'm going to butcher it, so we're going to call him Kavar because I do butcher his name, from Napoli for £84 million. And Kim Min-jae from Napoli as well for £32 million. So we have strengthened in so many areas. It is unreal in this first window. In terms of players going out, we do let the likes of Chris Wood go permanently because I'm not really that bothered about keeping him at the club, to be honest. You can also see Paul Dummett goes, Ryan Fraser goes out on loan, Manquillo goes out on loan as well. Diallo to Bristol City on the free. So some players are going to be leaving us, which, you know, at the end of the day, might not be the players you want to go, but to be fair, people like Chris Wood, we can definitely do without for a season. In terms of the players we brought in, though, obviously Ugarte, we should know who this guy is. He has been linked in real life and to several other clubs as well. Actually, I believe he has gone to PSG, if I'm correct in saying. But this guy is a serious baller. 22 years of age. He looks a lot older, though, in this picture, I must say. But he is an absolute ridiculous midfielder. 18 tackling, great position and great teamwork. Great work rate, great determination, good concentration. Not the quickest in the midfield, so sort of works better as a sort of, you know, just holding midfielder, which he is going to be doing. I'm going to be testing out using this formation as it was downloaded. And if we need to make tweaks to it, I'll be going over those tweaks so you guys can have exactly the same experience as what you see that I have. Now, going over to the next sort of page, a lot of these players you're probably quite familiar with, but the likes of Rico Henry, it's just a solid left back. It's nothing ridiculously special, but again, quite quick, decent tackling, only 26. I didn't want to go and spend hundreds of millions on a fullback in the first season, and he covers that position quite nicely. The next player, obviously, Conrad Lima, we should know who he is, going to be Bayern bound very shortly. 26 years of age, and this guy was on the free. Not that much to have him at the club either, only £89,000 a week. And very similar to, obviously, Ugarte, except he's a little bit different in the sense of his touch quicker, not as good at tackling, but still has got some really good attributes for a midfield player that you would want, including good aggression, obviously good bravery, good teamwork, good work rate, good stamina. Them key things you'd want from a midfield player, to be honest with you. And then the other players, we should know who they are. Obviously, Patson Daka is a really good option. Great finishing, really quick as well. Only 24 years of age, and obviously Leicester have gone down, so didn't have to spend a lot for him. We all know who this guy is. And Kim Min-jae, again, a really solid centre-back. Did cost a fair bit to get here. He's on a fair whack as well, but he is an incredible centre-back. 26, so not the youngest of the youngest, but also definitely not too old for a centre-back either. And that is going to be, in my opinion, a very solid transfer window. And talking about solid, this is going to come to the tactic now. This is going to be a nap tactic, and I am incredibly excited to actually use this. But the lineup is going to be Pope, Trippier, Kim Min-jae, Botman, Target, Ugarte, and Bruno, Almiron. We've got Kavar, we've got Wilson, and also Isaac to finish it off. And the bench is looking absolutely incredible as well. In terms of players that we are going to try and offload, so we're not going to hide this. We're going to go right into the contract expiry. We've got some players here which contracts have expired already. The likes of Matt Ritchie, Karius, Kieran Clark, Longstaff, even Jess pretty much all of these players here, I am looking to offload. So I'm not going to offer them new contracts. If they go on the free, they go on the free. You can see here by the value, I'm not going to miss out on hardly anything. And I'm going to recover some wage anyway from that. How much out of interest is like Carrius on? 30k a week, nothing's too ridiculous, but it frees up some money. In terms of players that we want to move on going forwards, I want to keep Joelinton here for a while, Kieran Trippier possibly for another year or so, Callum Wilson can stay for now, Lascelles can stay for now, Longstaff I can look to offload, Jamal Lewis I can look to offload, Ryan Fraser I can definitely look to offload, and where is that main man? I'm really not a big fan of him. Anthony Gordon. Now, this is a player who is valued at quite a lot of money. And to be honest, I'm going to cash in on him if and when I can, because I'm not a big fan of Anthony Gordon. So I'm going to try and really, or Anthony Gordon, not Anthony Gordon, should I say. I'm going to try and get rid of him as quick as I can, because I'm not a big fan of him. Don't like his character. And I think even if we can get £25 million for him, it would be beneficial to us. But let's go over to that first season. It's going to be a very tough season. I'm not expecting to improve where we did in real life, because at the end of the day, we are now playing in the Champions League. So there's an extra competition. There's a lot of strain on the players. Hence why I had to spend big to even be somewhat competitive, hopefully in the Premier League and the Champions League. But let's go over to that first season and see how we done. So the first season has been simulated, and do you know what? To be honest, I'm actually quite happy with it, because we've maintained in the Champions League. We finished in 4th place quite comfortably over Wolves in a comfortable 5th place finish for them, to be fair. The likes of Chelsea in 9th, Arsenal in 10th as well. You've got Sheffield United, Burnley, and also Coventry going down to the Championship. In terms of the other competitions, we were the team to get to the semis, as we got to the semi-finals of the Champions League, which, to be honest, is actually really good for a first season. The semi-finals, we got knocked out against Brighton in the FA Cup. I feel like we possibly could have done better there. Carabao Cup went out to Manchester United, probably deserved, to be honest. Don't know if we could really beat them just yet. But overall, a really impressive season. Not only showing that we can consistently be a Champions League team in the Premier League, but also get to quite a good stage in the Champions League as well. I mean, Real Madrid we're never going to beat just yet. Maybe in the future. Hopefully in the future. The only real disappointment overall for me in a season would be this game here against Brighton. In terms of the stats, we can clearly see where we have to improve, because we're actually the league's top goal scorers with 118 goals, which is absolutely incredible. In terms of the goals conceded, though, we rank 4th. So, although that is still quite good, because you've got some really good defensive teams in this league, that is clear where the improvement needs to be. So, that is where we're going to be spending our money, which is going to be £199 million going into the next window. That is without selling anyone, by the way. So, if we sell more players, that can easily go to 250. If we go big, possibly even 300. So, we'll see who we can sell. But going over to the squad, and going by the goals first, this is what I love to see. So we've got Callum Wilson with 44 goals. We've got Isaac coming in with 40. We've got Kavar coming in with 16. 15 for Daka. Kim Min Jae with 11 from set pieces. Something Nap never fails to please me with. Almiron with 11. 10 for Gordon as well, which, you know, we're not going to talk about too much. But overall, what we're really noticing is how powerful this front two are, contributing 84 goals in the season between them both, which, to be honest, Isaac overclass is like a real world-class striker, especially in this game. But Callum Wilson isn't, you know, he's good, but he's not like, you know, Mbappe, is he? He's nothing crazy. So the fact that he's scoring 44 shows how good the, obviously, creativity is to get the ball into him. In terms of the assists, though, we're going to see a very attractive pattern here. And it is going to be Kavar coming in with 26, 21 for Kieran Trippier. Obviously, very attacking fullbacks in this system. Miguel Almiron coming in with 13, Isaac with 11. The strikers always are going to pick up a decent amount of assists, usually one more than the other, because they're the sort of feed-in option to the other one. St. Maximin coming in with 9, a player that I really want to thrive under this management. Bruno having quite an average season, to be honest, but we're going to allow it because he is an absolute baller in real life, so we are going to keep him, obviously. 8 coming in there for Ugarte, Rico Henry coming in with 8, 6 for Callum Wilson, Joelinton with 6, and Daka coming in also with 6. So overall, quite impressive. And in terms of the data hub, we are going to be looking at 3.11, just over a goal conceded. So this is an area we really want to improve on. The goal scoring, not so much. We clearly are quite good in that area. Now, when I look at a defensive record that needs to be improved, it doesn't always mean it's necessarily the defenders. It can be the likes of maybe we bring in a more defensive role in this midfield. We change it, for example, something like that. So as you can see right now, I'm going to opt for having a deep line playmaker instead of the double volante, for example, because that is one sort of thing which I feel like Bruno can play a little bit better in. But realistically, there is room for improvement in these fullbacks. So Target, for example, still gets in under the best 11, so I might purposely put in Rico Henry, make sure he plays every single game, and if we don't ever iron that out, we might look to obviously change that line, because that defensive line is very high, and possibly a bit too much to ask for this Newcastle side. But in terms of the schedule, I feel like we need to watch a little game. You can see there's quite... What is this game here? I was against Coventry. I saw 10, and I was like, what have I just seen? But let's go ahead and watch like a semi-competitive game where it was quite a good result, because you know we want to see where we perform strong. A 4-0 win against Tottenham, that isn't half bad. Alfie Whiteman, Podro, Dyer, Sancho, Sanchez. We'll watch this game. A 4-0 win is going to be, I think Anthony Gordon gets a goal in this game, as I'm not a big fan of him. Let me know in the comments though. Any Newcastle fans? I know there's a few of you, because there was quite a few requests for this Newcastle rebuild. Is Anthony Gordon a player you like as a fan base? Let me know. I just personally don't like his attitude, as it is going to be Botman tucking in a goal inside of 12 minutes, so quite impressive there. It's then going to be Matty Target, who didn't have the best of the best season, realistically. He had an okay season, I suppose, but he's not going to be around for silly long, as it is going to be Gordon there, who just finds himself in absolute acres. This classic Tottenham defender, no one around him, and it's a very easy goal, to be honest with you. Back to Target now, down the left-hand side, into Cava, who takes a touch. Dyer does typical Dyer into Jolinton, and it's a gift wrapped up. That's arguably now 2 goals, to be honest, which could have been prevented just simply by poor marking and a defensive error. We're going to build up again here into Cava, who goes out on the left-hand side. Such a dangerous option, and again, horrific defending, and if that's not Tottenham in a complete match highlight, I don't know what is. Absolutely shocking from Tottenham Hotspur, but we're going to take it in a very comfortable 4-0 win, and we're going to go into this next season now and try and see who we can keep. Obviously, there might be some players that want to leave now, because we have got Champions League football again. We are developing as a club. We're definitely going to offer contracts to the likes of Jolinton, possibly Trippier for another season, Callum Wilson, maybe Lascelles, possibly not. We're going to take a little bit of time and actually break this down, but pretty much you can see the amount of people that need contracts desperately. It's going to be this point upwards. So there we go. So this point upwards, all these highlighted players need contracts, because they are going to expire in the next season. So it's going to take a lot of time, but let's go ahead and do that and hop in to season 2 of the transfer window. So we're going to start off on the last page, but there are a lot more signings made on the previous one, so don't you worry. But the first page is going to consist of Ryan Fraser going to Nottingham Forest for 10.5 million, and Alex Murphy going to West Brom under-21s for 165k. I also do want to say Dubravka did go to Bayer Leverkusen for 2.5 million, which for some reason isn't shown on here just yet, but I thought I'd keep you in the loop, because we did sign a goalkeeper, and I want to sort of explain why we did that. The likes of the first player we bring in is an absolute unit at the back, which is definitely going to strengthen that back line. And that is going to be Tomori from AC Milan for £90 million. Now, this guy is a go-to option of mine. Not only is he quick, very strong as well, but he's got great tackling, 26 years of age, so still mid-20s, not young, but you are talking about 5-6 years, possibly even 7 years for a centre-back before he starts really noticing a bit of a decline. But in terms of what this guy can bring to a team, he can bring it all. He's played for some really big clubs in his history, played in some really big games, and realistically, he's easily going to get in that team, and we could have a partnership now of Kim Min-jae and Tomori, and that is a absolute, I'm going to say it, it's a world-class back line, a world-class centre-back partnership, and I'm really hoping, alongside of the other players, which you haven't seen yet, that we do bring in, we can really strengthen this back line and turn that into a 4th-ranked side, defensively, into possibly a 2nd, or if not, why not a 1st? But the other players we bring in are going to be, you can see right now, Trubin from Shakhtar for £29 million. We bring in Ramos from Benfica for £65 million and Jeremy Frimpong from Bayer Leverkusen for £41 million. In terms of players to leave, you can see right now we have got a few players. So Karius goes on the free. We've got Charlie MacArthur goes on the free. Obviously, Ryan Fraser to Nottingham Forest goes out on loan with a £1 million total fee. I believe that's actually everyone on that page as well, and also on that one. So not a ridiculous amount of players that do leave, because we've got a few players at the club now that are out of contract. We've not offered them a contract, but they're not being picked up, so they're just sort of there, which isn't good for their careers. But at the end of the day, if they haven't got a place in this team, I'm not just going to keep them around for the sake of it, you know? But in terms of the actual players we brought in, so Trubin, every FM guy should know this by now. Realistically, he's one of the go-to options. 22 years of age, obviously from Shakhtar. Absolute, well, it's just a really good option. 22 years of age, already got some really good stats. 20 aerial reach, by the way. Doesn't cost too much to bring in, realistically, only on 75 grand a week, and you've got to keep it here for over 10 years, so you can't really complain at all. Going over to the next player, we are going to have Ramos from Benfica. Obviously, again, a player which I am slowly trying to bring in attacking options. He's quite balanced, realistically. His finishing's good, don't get me wrong, at 14, but it's not like one of them strikers where he's really slow, but got like 19 finishing, or vice versa, where you've got a striker that's absolutely rapid, but can't really finish. This guy is what I like to call a balanced option. He's balanced along pretty much every stat what you'd want for a striker. Like I said, good stamina, good off the ball, good teamwork, good finishing, reasonably quick as well, can play a selection of roles, and 23 years of age. So realistically, again, we've got a player here for the next 10 years, which obviously, hopefully, we're not doing a rebuild for 10 years, but you never know. So overall, I think just this player alone is going to increase that strike force. We've got to be considerate to the fact that Callum Wilson, I know Newcastle fans love him, and I'm actually a big fan of him as well, but he is getting older. How many seasons can he score 40 goals in consistently? I don't know. So we have got to be considerate of that and start to replace him and be prepared for when that day comes. And the last player is going to be Jeremy Frimpong from Bayer Leverkusen for £41 million. A very attacking right back, should I say. But realistically, the fullbacks or the wing backs, in this system are very attacking. And I think that Frimpong can suit this very well, to be honest with you. For a defender, I am going to work on his tackling. I'm going to do some training on him because he does need that. He needs to develop a little bit better when it comes to that side of the game. But in terms of everything else, he's actually a really solid option. And again, we've gone for the youth, 23 years of age. It's not, you don't want to say youth, it's not like 19, 18, but 23, a player for 10 years. Doesn't cost that much to have at the club. Cost a fair whack to actually get him here, obviously coming in at 41 million. But realistically, I don't think it was a bad transfer window in terms of money spent. Trubin was a bargain. Ramos, I'd say, is about an average price. Frimpong, semi-expensive. And Tomori, you have to spend the big bucks to get that type of caliber of player in. And going over to the next season, obviously this is going to be the team, so it does look really, really good. Botman remains in the position, which I don't know if I agree with personally, but we're going to have Pope remains in goal, Frimpong, Kim Min-jae, Botman, Henry, Ugarte, Bruno, Almiron, Cavar, Ramos, and Isaac to finish off that incredible start on 11. In terms of the tactic, we are definitely going to keep an eye on it this season because this high defensive line, I might drop to standard if we need to. Obviously, it was on much higher, so we might drop it one more as well. And we're going to make sure that the likes of Tomori, Trubin, Lima, Callum Wilson, some of these players on the bench actually are getting game time because at the end of the day, we have now got a squad that is looking really, really good and everyone can compete with each other. So let's go over to the second season and let's see how we done. Well, we have definitely improved in the second season as we have actually already ticked off one of the tasks we set ourselves, and that is to become Premier League champions. We have won out by 4 points over Liverpool in second place. We're also in the Carabao Cup against Brighton, so it's not a bad season realistically. We also were very close to doing the treble, but unfortunately Liverpool just come in and sort of knock us off our perch a little bit. Semi-finals again in the Champions League, by the way, against Bayern Munich, so not a bad display there either. And overall, better defensively, not as many goals being scored, so obviously, that comes down to the tactical changes as well. So if we have to score less, but we're overall better, that's completely fine. I'm not against that because realistically, to win the Premier League in the second season is a really good accomplishment. Despite the money that we've spent, there's still a lot of teams that are spending that type of money too. Maybe not as much, but Man City, what is their team looking like? Have they strengthened? They've got Pep Guardiola. Tactics, they have got Edison, Mukiele, Diaz, Laporte, Cancelo, Rodri, De Bruyne, Silva, Jeremy Pino, Grealish, Haaland. Anyone else on the bench that they've signed? Milinkovic, Savic, Koeman. Pretty much the same apart from them. Obviously, Kanji's there. Why did I think he wasn't there? Yuri Tielemans. Yeah, they have signed some decent players too, so they are keeping up in terms of the actual spending side of the game as well. But realistically, it's a deserved Premier League title. And going over to the stats, we are going to feature in 3 of them. Obviously, Man City dominating, coming in with 4, even though they didn't win the league. Most points per game at 2.24, most goals coming in at 94, and the most shots coming in at 738. Going over to, I meant to do the tactics, not the data hub, so we are going to have a little look at that. We're going to be seeing 2.47 goals per game, conceded at 0.97, so we have now brought that to just under a goal a game, which obviously is what we want to be maintaining, what we want to be going for, because if we have to be scoring less goals to obviously be more defensively solid, you can't have it all. You can't score 6 goals a game, for example, and concede under a goal. you need to sort of have a little bit of a leeway to allow yourself to obviously score less, but also concede less, because that's just how football works. But going over to the actual squad then, we want to see how the team has been performing. It's actually going to be Isaac with 43, Ramos coming in with 32 with a great first season with 11 assists as well. 11 also coming in from Isaac. So these two have a really good link-up season, and I think possibly even better than the Ramos link-up we had. Not the Ramos, the Wilson link-up in the previous season. And we're on also having 10 and 10, quite a decent season. Callum Wilson dropped off a little bit, but definitely was being used as a sub. We've got Cavar coming in with 8 and 14. Honestly, expect a little bit more from him. You can see the average match rating isn't the best of the best. St. Maximin having an okay season, 7 and 17. Bruno Guimaraes coming in with 7 and 9. Again, okay, but I do expect a little bit more from Bruno. I honestly think he can easily get into the 15-16 assist region per season. Kim Min-jae, 6 goals and an assist, an okay match rating as well. Jolinton, 6 and 7, not bad considering I guarantee he doesn't play every single game. We're going to have 6 and 7 from Daka, 6 and 7, 6 and 1 from Daka. Not really got off to the mark since he's joined, to be honest with you. Botman with 5 and 1, Yagate with 4 and 4. I'm not expecting as much from him because obviously he's a little bit more deeper, and he essentially is just a player that picks up the ball and pings it forward. So I'm not expecting loads from him as long as he's playing somewhat okay. But even then, the match rating isn't the best of the best. Anthony Gordon, 4 and 7. 1 and 11 for Trippier, so still contributing with quite a few assists. And then you can see here some of the players that don't even get any game time, and these are going to be players which we want to get rid of. So as you can see right now, from this point, in fact, we'll highlight everyone. So definitely this point onwards, so down here, including Lascelles. So Dan Burn, Jamal Lewis, Sean Longstaff, Matty Target, Kraft, Langley, Longstaff, Murphy, Darlow, Hayden, and Lascelles. These are all going to be players that I want to get rid of because, and also possibly even Nick Pope, to be honest with you. But realistically, these are players I want to get rid of now because we've got a couple in here that haven't even got contracts at the club. But realistically, these other players aren't getting any game time across the season. If they are, it's literally a game, and I'm just not that keen on having them at the club anymore. Some of them are getting on as well, so you know, we've got a few players here like 34, 30, 31, 30, and that's fine. I'm not against having older players at the club, but when they've done their time at Newcastle, they're not really at a level which is worth having them at the club. It's time to move these players on, as harsh as that sounds. In terms of the next season, though, we have actually got £247 million to spend in that third transfer window, so we are definitely got to play about there. In terms of the schedule, though, I feel like we need to watch a cup final. So let's go ahead and watch. It would be the Carabao Cup final. It's only going to be a 1-0, but we'll go and treat ourselves to it. It's going to be Cavar coming in with the 64th minute winner. So let's go ahead and have a little look at this game. We definitely deserve to win, though. I don't know if you just saw those stats, but it is going to be Ramos down the right-hand side in absolute acres of space. He's going to cut it back into Bruno, takes a touch into the edge, into St. Maximin, into Cavar, and again, great play from the right to bring it into the centre. Brighton possibly could be a little bit more pressuring on that right-hand side to prevent the cross, but overall, a really good game against quite a good Brighton side as well. And yeah, we deserve to win it, so no luck involved there. But realistically, for a second season, we can't really complain, and you'll see in here as well, we are beating some very good teams now. We're beating Man City quite comfortably. I mean, we had 3 games here, won 2 of them, lost 1 of them by a goal. Beating Chelsea. Obviously, this game was dramatic here in the FA Cup semi-final, an extra time game. We might actually watch that, you know, a 5-2 win. Meaning a lot of the goals obviously did come in that extra time. Against West Ham, obviously we did go ahead and lose the final, but I'm surprised we did lose the final after bringing this momentum in. It's going to be Tomori into St. Maximin, back into Tomori, into Bruno. I mean, that was just going to happen all the time. Back into St. Maximin, across the goal, into Ramos, and that is beautiful link-up play. Tomori getting involved, Bruno from deep playing the ball over the top. West Ham do, but I believe they bounce back here. Vlasic back inside into Jared Bowen, into Souček, back into Bowen. Very good link-up play. Can't hate it. Good give and go. Defence sort of fell asleep. Great run from Bowen. Great pass from Souček. Fair play to him. Are they going to go again here with Paqueta into Bowen? No. Rico Henry loses it. Shocking from him. So this is going to be their last goal of the game then. Into Danny Ings, who, fair play, absolutely lumps it. So from this point onwards, West Ham must have literally collapsed as we score another 4 goals as Joe Willock wins it back in the midfield here. He's going to thread it through into Ramos, into Jolinton, who back into Ramos, and that is some tiki-taka. If you guys want a tiki-taka formation, this is the one for you guys to use because honestly, it's an absolute treat. We then play it through into Lima, who goes into Daka, who's not having a great season, to be honest, into Trippier, back in the middle, into Isaac, and that is an absolute great passage of play out wide into the centre, a great leaping header, and what a goal that is. Another goal here in a 98th minute. Isaac into St. Maximin. It's a great good give and go. Such a tongue twister right there. And that is going to be, I believe, goal number 4. And the last goal comes here in the 110th minute as Frimpong out jumps. That is shocking from Vlasic, should be winning that, who plays it over the top into Daka, and a great first time finish in a game which realistically West Ham had control in but completely collapsed, and judging by the stats we definitely deserved to win it, but surprised West Ham bottled it that much, but we'll take it. But that leaves us one more thing to do, not one more thing to do, the next thing to do is to go over to this next transfer window, which is going to be season number 3, and let's go ahead and see who we can bring in for £250 million. So we're going to do the last page first, so you don't see any of the ones on the other page. I don't want to spoil it for you guys. And you are going to see a few players going out. That is going to be Kieran Trippier on the free to RB Leipzig. He wasn't valued at a lot anyway. Charlie MacArthur goes to Leeds on the free, and Dan Burn goes to Ajax. A very interesting move for 2.4 million. We then go and pick up Josip Stanisic from RB Leipzig for £31.5 million. We bring in Manu Kone from Borussia Mönchengladbach for £23.5 million. And we bring in Rasmus Højlund from Atalanta for 81 million. Now, Stanisic is a great option. He covers Trippier's position at right back, a great backup option to Jeremy Frimpong, or possibly even first team. But the great thing about him, he can also play centre back. So we're sort of covered 2 in 1, which sort of replaces that Trippier and Dan Burn with one player. And again, only 25 years of age. The next player is going to be a very good talent at 24 years of age, Manu Kone coming in, £115,000 a week. But realistically, he's a player I've never signed on FM before, but he looks absolutely incredible. He can play anywhere in midfield in the more defensive areas. That, you know, he can cover a Volante, for example, as we can see here. He can also play the position slightly higher up, centralised, not as strong going forwards, but to be honest, we don't even have a shadow striker, an advanced playmaker, etc., etc. So it doesn't really matter too much. In terms of the age, 24, so absolutely years in him to go as yet. Some really balanced attributes across the cards. Great dribbling, great tackling, great technique, good aggression, good bravery, good determination, good flair, good stamina, good strength, good fitness. Pretty much your sort of like N'Golo Kante figure, just an absolute runner of the field and someone who I think can pretty much do it all in that midfield. I don't know if he's going to get guaranteed game time from the get-go, because obviously we have got some really good options in there. I'm hoping that at least he gets a chance to prove himself in this team. And then the last player on this page is going to be Big Erasmus from Atalanta. And again, this comes down just to giving us depth up top, giving us lots of players. This guy's a player that needs a couple of seasons to really come into his own. Realistically, if you have a little look at his history and go to the career stats, he didn't really thrive at Atalanta. 30 games, 7 goals. So it's definitely a work in progress with this guy. A gamble I'm willing to take because I do back this guy a lot. He's already got some decent attributes, don't get me wrong. Great finisher. He's more of a slower sort of striker. I say that, he's actually got 16 pace, but he reminds me more of sort of like a Haaland type figure. Quite tall, reasonably quick, but more give the ball to him. He'll score the goals. He doesn't really do too much of the actual work. But we'll see what happens, because at the end of the day, if this guy does develop, he can push the likes of Isaac out of the team quite easily, to be honest with you, because he has got the age favour on his side. And going over to the obviously previous page, you are going to see us bring in 2 more players. That is going to be Nuno Mendes from PSG for £89 million. I'm not going to go into his profile because we know who he is. We know who Scalvini is. Both absolute world-class defenders. Scalvini also coming in from Atalanta for £60 million. You can also expect to see finally this De Bruyne transfer going through to Bayer Leverkusen, which is 1.2 million, not 2.5. I do apologise, I got that wrong. You'll see Sean Longstaff goes to West Ham for £425,000, Jamal Lewis to West Ham for £200,000, and Jacob Murphy to Stoke for quite a good price tag actually, 7.75 million. Going over to the tactics page with this new look team, this is going to be the outcome. I'm going to do best 11 in case I forgot to do it. This is the best 11, so it is going to be Trubin, Frimpong, Kim Min-jae, Botman, Mendes, Ugarte, Bruno, St. Maximin, Cavar, Ramos, and also Isaac to finish off that starting 11. But we look at the bench right now, and we are absolutely thriving. We've got Nick Pope on the bench, Tamori, Lima, Højlund, Scalvini, Kone, Daka, Stanisic, Willock, Jolinton, Rico Henry, Almiron, Gordon, who I still can't sell, despite him being wanted by West Ham, who want a lot of our players. Matty Target, Hayden, you know, we have got a really good bench now, and I think, considering this is only our third transfer window, we have already transformed this team into an absolute powerhouse. And I don't know how many seasons it's going to take for us to win the Champions League, but the way we're going, it wouldn't surprise me if we've done it in 6 or 7, because we are absolutely dominating, as it seems. And I'm hoping with these new signings, we can be a little bit even more competitive and possibly win a treble in the third season. You never know. So let's go over to this third season and see if we can make it happen. Well, the third season has been simulated, guys, and you know what? We were so close to actually completing the challenge, as we were now runners-up in the Champions League against PSG. Got all the way to the finals. Unfortunately, the French Giants, too much for us to handle in this season. However, we do still win a treble, which is very impressive. But in the Premier League, the Carabao Cup against Brighton, and also the Community Shield, yes, it's a bit of a B-Tech treble. The Community Shield, can you really count? We're going to count it. It's a treble winning season. We scored 101 league goals and conceded 37. So still quite good, quite consistent. In terms of the league table, though, we actually had quite a big lead over the likes of City and United and Brighton, who finished in 4th place. Liverpool out of Champions League football. Actually, where are they involved? I believe they're actually involved in that. Aston Villa in 6th, West Ham in 7th, Tottenham in 8th. Where are Arsenal? 14th. What is going on? What is going on with Arsenal? They've got Inzaghi in charge. Tactics, they have... I mean, yeah, with that formation, you can expect some bad results. You've got Turner, White, Gabriel, Salabia, Zinchenko, Jorginho, Tierney, Odegaard, Ramsey. It's the same team, basically. It's just that formation is not an Arsenal style, is it, realistically? It's never going to work for him. But overall, whatever we done worked for us, as in the team stats, we feature in the same 3, I believe, being the most points per game, the most goals at 101, and also the most shots for at 768, as it is going to be Aston Villa with the most clean sheets, which I have to see what their team's looking like. They've got Emery in charge, and they are playing a 4-2-3-1, a deep 4-2-3-1, and their team is looking very good, to be fair. Some good signings in there, obviously bringing in Livakovic, Aarons, Moreno, I believe, is actually a new addition as well. There's some really good options in here as well. Riyad Mahrez, Leon Bailey, Granit Xhaka. I mean, yeah, well, Bailey obviously was already there, but I'm just saying, that's a really, really good team, to be fair to them. So hats off to them. In terms of us, though, going over to the data hub, we are going to be looking at 2.66 goals per game. That looks like a dead replica of the previous season, to be honest. 0.97, I actually think, is exactly the same as what we had the season before, which is very weird, but we're not going to complain. It's under a goal a game. Obviously, that is the main sort of idea of this entire challenge, is to, well, not a challenge, but the idea of actually trying to win is to keep it under a goal a game, because in that way you're not consistently expecting to concede a goal a game. But going over to the schedule, we are going to be looking at some cup finals that we were in. The first one we're going to watch is going to be, if we can, the Community Shield in what was a dramatic 2-2 game, which we won on penalty. So let's go ahead and watch a little penalty shootout, because let's treat ourselves, you know. We've got to treat ourselves. It's a Monday, you know, start of the week. Kone over the top into Højlund, who touches it down, cuts it back, does he? He does, into Nuno Mendes. He's going to go out wide, drive it back inside into Cavar, and that is actually a very good bit of link-up play. Liverpool really couldn't defend that well. No real options, to be honest with you, as Harvey Elliott does bounce back here with a great ball into the box, into, I believe, was that a Seamhem? Liverpool siding the Seamhem. Fair play to him. Isaac tucks away a penalty. No, he doesn't. Becker saves it. Liverpool don't deal with it. Back into Cavar, in the middle, into Højlund, and I bet Alisson is gutted. Liverpool defence completely went sleepies, no help at all, and we absolutely took advantage of that. That is Rafael Leao as well. This Liverpool team is looking incredible, as Keita absolutely lumps one, and it just goes across that line. But realistically, I'm surprised we beat this team, because they have still got Salah, they've got Gnabry. Their team is incredible, as Salah tucks away the first pen. Cavar steps up and also tucks in a pen, which I think Alisson should have saved realistically. Elliott steps up, great penalty into the bottom left. Are we going to see like the last episode in this rebuild? Where no, we don't. Last rebuild we done, we went down the right-hand side in every single penalty. A Seamhem, great penalty again. And I've got to look at this Liverpool team after, because I am seeing world-class player after world-class player. And right now we're looking at some world-class penalties, as I say that as Gnabry just puts it down the middle, and I guess this is where we're going to win, into Joe Willock, a great penalty into the bottom right corner. I think whatever happens here, obviously we do go ahead and win it. I believe it comes down to who is the last man. Obviously, yeah, that is going to be the end of it. But Liverpool, their team, I mean, Alisson, Robertson, Van Dijk, Skriniar, Gomez, Konate and CDM, Keita, Elliott, Leao, Osimhen, Salah. I mean, great players on the bench as well. Their team is absolutely nuts. Going over to the next game, which is going to be the cup final against Brighton. A 4-0 win here against a full-strength Brighton team as well. With Josh Sargent up top, a very unexpected player to see. This game actually was very comfortable. 3.45 XG, so definitely deserved win. As Kone feeds it back into Bruno, who drives forward past McAllister, making him look stupid, to be honest. Back inside into Isaac, who thumps it past Sanchez. Quite a good start. A goal inside of 15 minutes is pretty much a... When you go, well, we're going to go 2-0 up here inside of the first half. When you go 2 goals up in a cup final, when you're the better team as well, you rarely bottle it. You rarely do bottle it. So realistically, once the second goal went in, I was quite comfortable, quite expected of the victory, as Isaac now tucks in a penalty. And I swear, this Newcastle team just doesn't miss penalties. I mean, the penalties we saw in the penalty shootout were absolutely incredible. And the penalties we've seen in the match highlights also have been absolutely incredible. As Ramos plays over the top, and that is a great bit of link-up play. It was actually Mendes, I believe, played over the top into Ramos, who tucks it away, and a very comfortable 4-0 win in the final. But one thing I completely forgot to do, despite looking at all of these amazing results, was actually look at the squad. And that is what we're going to do now. And we are going to be looking at 50 goals from Isaac, 37 for Højlund, Cava coming in with 21, 14 for St. Maximin, Ramos with 14, 6 for Kone. So there is a bit of a drop-off after this point here. But we have got 5 players scoring 14 and above goals. We've got 3 with 20 and above goals. And obviously, 1 with 37, 1 with 50, 87 goals combined with those front 2. Nice to see it's going to be Højlund instantly coming in alongside of Isaac as well. Ramos also contributing quite well. That tells me that these sort of front players are rotating games, which is exactly what I want to be seeing. And in terms of the assists, we've got 33 from St. Maximin. This guy is just not fallen off at all. We've got Cava with 29, 16 for Højlund, Stanisic with 12 in his first season. We've got Mendes with 12 as well. So the fullback's getting involved a lot, which is exactly what I want to be seeing as well. And realistically, how I've set up this team is performing how I want it to. We've got a team now which is a mixture of youth and also sort of mid-20 age, that sort of hitting their prime age, which is what we want to be doing. At the end of the day, we've set ourselves a challenge of rebuilding this Newcastle team for the future, but also being competitive in competition. So we can't go ahead and sign a bunch of 19-year-olds because we're never going to win anything. So you have to sort of aim for that 23, 25 is really the sweet spot of the age and build up from there. But going over to the next season, we have got 236 million pounds to spend going into the next season. Some of this budget is obviously going to be spent on the contracts, and the contract situation is these two can go out on the free. Lascelles can go, Hayden can go, Nick Pope can possibly go, Scar can possibly go. Daka, I'm not against selling either. There's quite a few players that can definitely be sold, but in this 2027 region, I want to offer contracts possibly to Almiron. Oscar's actually retiring, to be honest with you. We didn't even see that. Daka's wanted Joe Willock. I might try and keep around, as he is still only 26 years of age, which is very surprising. I thought he was a lot older than that. Botman, obviously, I want to keep him. Again, only 26 years of age as well. Really valued player as well. But let's go ahead and see, because I think there's still some players that we do want to offload, because realistically, they're just not cutting the mustard in some of the positions. As blunt as that is, I don't like to sell anyone, because I know a lot of Newcastle fans are going to be watching this. I don't want to get rid of your favourite players. But as we progress and carry on, we're bringing in strength to strength to strength. So let's go over to the 4th transfer window and see who we can bring in with close to, again, £250 million. So then, guys, it is going to be the 4th transfer window, and we have actually spent very big. This is going to be the first page or the last page, but technically the first one, because I don't want to confuse you by showing you the other signings. Now, this is not realistic. I am aware of it, but Tonali has been linked with Newcastle so heavily, I had to bring him in. And unfortunately, FM is very unrealistic with the price tags on a lot of players. Hence why we have spent 300 million for Tonali, which obviously would be nowhere near that value in real life. But this guy has been linked with Newcastle for absolutely weeks now. Do I think it can happen? I think it possibly can. It's weird to see Newcastle attract these type of players, but they are a very good team now. We've got to start to accept that. And this guy, I mean, Him and Bruno in the midfield would be absolutely incredible. His attributes are already fantastic. 26 years of age, obviously a lot younger in real life if they were to get him. And it's just a really complete midfield player. Perfect for the team that I'm running in this game. Perfect for this formation. And I think realistically, he cost an absolute ton to get here. He's on a lot of money to have at the club as well. But I had to bring him in purely to fulfill that dream for the Newcastle fans, you know. Seeing Tonali in the famous black and white. We've got to see it. We've got to see it. And going over to the next page, or the previous page, we actually do bring in a little bit of bias from me, as we do turn to Manchester United and bring in Garnacho for £90 million. Now, he is worth 90 million because his attributes are actually fantastic. 21 years of age, he's got 16 dribbling, great finishing for a winger at 14, good technique, good flair, absolutely rapid, 18 pace, 18 acceleration, very agile as well, and still can grow, which is scary to say that because this guy looks absolutely incredible. And I do think realistically, I'd be surprised if this guy doesn't get in the team. Possibly competing with St. Maximin. I'm a big fan of him and he's done very, very well. But when someone like this becomes available on the market, somebody so quick that has also got the finishing and the dribbling and the technique, you can't really miss up on it. Considering he's only 21, not a ridiculous wage either for someone of his caliber, and I'm just very excited we can actually attract players of this standard. And the players that do go out are going to be Kieran Trippier. We discussed these three. Just these two then. Finally, we get rid of Anthony Gordon, who goes to Aston Villa for £20 million, which is actually not a bad price tag at all for us. And also Matty Targett goes to Wolverhampton for £5 million. So if you imagine we've offloaded Gordon, who is of this standard, you know, he's got the pace, finishing's not as good, it's not as quick as Garnacho, not as good as in a lot of things, to be honest with you, and it's just arrogant. Let's just be realistic. And we've replaced him with a Garnacho who is absolutely fantastic, rapid, great finishing, and hopefully he can be the difference in this team. Going over to the tactics though, we are going to do a little bit of a mixture, as the best team is now going to be filtered like this. So it is going to be how I exactly would have set it up myself. Trubin, Frimpong, Scalvini, Botman, Mendes, Bruno, Tonali, Garnacho, Cavar, Ramos and Isaac. Now, Newcastle fans, what do you think of this team? Please do let me know in the comments right now, and do leave a like, because I think this team is now, this can compete for a Champions League title. This team now is 100% ready. I mean, we have got players in here with 4-star, 4-star, 4.5, 4-star. We can definitely compete for this right now. And I mean, the bench is incredible. We've got Nick Pope, Kim Min-jae, Yagate, Hoyland, Tamori, Kone, Daka, Stanisic, Lima, St. Maximin, Rico Henry, Joe Willock, Jolinton, Almiron, Lascelles. I mean, we've got strength in every single position. In terms of the strikers, we've got great depth. We've obviously got Hoyland and Daka. On the width areas, or the wide areas, we've got Cavar, Garnacho, St. Maximin. Also, I believe, there's someone down here. We've got Almiron that can play there as well. The midfield's obviously stacked. The back line is nothing short of world class. And I am really excited to see how this performs in this fourth season. So let's waste no more time and go over to that fourth season. So then, season number 4 is actually going to be the last season, because we have come out and we have won the Champions League, we've won the Premier League, we've won the FA Cup, the Carabao Cup and the Community Shield, making it 5 trophies in one season. Now, the challenge was to win the Champions League, but even if that wasn't a challenge, I would have called it here, because you physically can't improve on that consistently. Like, next season, we're not going to go ahead and win the 5 again. That is a perfect season, and you have to stick around to see the highlights, because they are absolutely incredible. We scored 116 league goals, only conceded 34, so finally ranking best in both categories. We run away with the Premier League over the likes of United, Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea, Arsenal, Tottenham, Stoke, Burnley and Middlesbrough go down to the Championship. And as always, a tradition on this channel, we always check out second place. What is their team like? Manchester United, with Bruno Fernandes obviously still as the captain, Ten Hag as the manager. The tactics is going to be Ferguson up top, Rashford, Fernandes, Anthony, Rodriguez, Ricci, Zuma, Tabido, Biomo, Martinez and Martinez, 2 Martinezes. We've got Mukele on the bench. We have got anyone else? Any new ones? We've got Jota. Anybody else? Casemiro. Still a lot of the usual players, to be fair to him, but it's quite a big change, sort of, from front line is sort of similar. Obviously, Ferguson's a great addition in there. No De Gea. Where is De Gea retired? Where has De Gea gone? He's a manager, now currently unemployed. Did he go anywhere from Manchester United? He didn't. He was at United all that time, so that is fair play to him. He retired at Manchester United. You've got to respect it. Probably won't happen in real life, though. In terms of the team stats, though, we've got a feature in 5 of them on this occasion. 2.58 points per game, most goals at 116, most shots at 785, fewest shots at bang on 300, and the fewest conceded coming in at 34. So a really good stat line there in the last season. In terms of the squad, we are going to be looking at this is a really good improvement now. We've got 46, 32, 31, 19, 15, 12, 11. So it's not as dominated by one or by sort of a pair now. You're now going to be seeing actually what we wanted. We're going to be seeing 3 strikers sort of rotating in between those positions. 2 of them obviously coming in with 30 plus goals. Isaac still being the dominant figure with over 40. And then we've got the wide players in Garnacho and Cavar coming in with 15 and 19. We've got Jolinton coming in with 12, Scalvini, a monster from set pieces. And in terms of the assists, we've got Garnacho, who had an incredible season. 35, 21 on the other wide area. Hoyden with 16, 15 for Tonali. Quite a good season out of him. 13 for Isaac. Also got 12 from Ramos, Mendes with 9, 7 for Ugarte, or 9 for Ugarte actually, 7 for St. Maximin. That is literally the ideal situation. You've got 2 wide players who are contributing really good amounts of assists and scoring, 15 plus goals a season. And we've now got 3 strikers, obviously covering 2 positions that are rotating very nicely and scoring over 30 goals a season and all averaging above 10 assists as well. So that just shows they're working well together, they're linking in, and that is a perfect, complete final tactic. And the finances are going to be, if we were going to carry on, £155 million. But I think it's only fair, considering we've won 5 trophies, we have to go and watch at least a couple of the cup finals. So let's pick out some of the dramatic ones. And they're looking at me right in the face. I mean, these are going to be the 2. The FA Cup final against Aston Villa. Realistically, it's an absolute thumping as we had 55% of the ball, 3.78 XG, and it was a game which we definitely deserved to win, as we are going to be scoring by the looks of it inside of 3 minutes, as it is going to be Cavar over the top into Isaac first time, and you can see right now how these players are linking up. It's absolutely deadly, and one thing I like about this tactic is it is based around a tiki-taka style, but it can play that way as well, a little bit more direct when and if needed to. As we go through there into Ramos, who, is absolutely incredible. Garnacho threads through Ramos, and when you go 2-0 up inside of 5 minutes, I imagine Aston Villa wanting to go home. But to be fair to them, I didn't actually picture this. They do bounce back here, I believe. A great bit of link-up play. And it is going to be Max Aarons with a bar and down volley. So this would be the perfect time. This is the give or go moment, because right now it's 2-1. If they sort of stay competitive in this game, it could have gone any way, but they sort of bottle it only a few minutes after. They let us through again into Isaac. Great link-up play between both strikers. And then we instantly maintain that 2-goal cushion. And it gets even worse for him here, as in the 30th, that penalty outside of the foot, elegance, absolutely incredible stuff. And they just don't stop the bleeding. It goes from bad to worse, as it's going to be a great set piece, actually. Scalvini through to Garnacho, through to Isaac, who tucks it away. And it's not over there. I feel sorry for this Villa side. I really do, because they had a great season in the previous season, as it's going to be Bruno on the edge of the box who's going to hit it. Great bit of finesse. And where does it stop for Aston Villa? It's goal after goal. And realistically, at one point in the game, it could have been theirs. Just didn't have enough to get back into sort of maintain that goal. They sort of scored in the 20th minute, and we scored in the 26th. So unfortunately for them, it ended up being a bit of a thumping, but hats off to them for getting to the cup final. We are going to go ahead now and watch the Champions League final against Manchester United, in which, again, it's going to be a very familiar pattern, because we got off to a very good start. Actually, I believe we went 2-0 up in 7 minutes. So let's go ahead and have a little look at this, these sort of highlights then. As it's going to be Mendes threading it back into Cavar on the left-hand side. He's going to cut it inside into Garnacho on the off turn. It's a bit of a lucky goal. It's quite a lucky goal. So not the best start for United there. And it's not going to be an even better start now, as they are going to concede again, as Ugarte passes it out wide into Cavar, who takes his time, cuts it back. It's not a great ball. It's a lucky goal again. So United got off to a horrific defensive start. They do bounce back here, though, to give them credit in the 11th minute. And this is, again, a shocking bit of goalkeeping from Trubin there. But 3 goals of no quality at all. But this is where they could I've sort of actually got back into the game or just sort of dealt with us a little bit better. But they don't. In the 29th minute, we get a very easy chance there as Isaac sort of misses it and Ramos tucks it in from a great ball from Garnacho out on the right-hand side. And we put the cherry on the cake here, and it's going to be over the top into St. Maximin. A great first-time ball in, cleared from Bayameo, who's Mendes threads it back in, and it is going to be Isaac. And realistically, I think this game is a very the goals that went in, I'm going to say 3 of them were just complete write-offs. They shouldn't have happened. Shock and match engine in terms of the defensive display, or just shock and defending. But I do lean towards the match engine because, I mean, you can't really have 3 goals of that sort of, I don't want to say standard. You shouldn't really have 3 goals like that going in at all in the same game. It's just not realistic at all. But in terms of the actual season, I mean, we had a great time. I mean, if we go down here, we went this amount of time. I mean, we are talking months before we got our first loss against Liverpool. We then beat Real Madrid 2-1, lost to Brighton, another win spree, all the way until we lost to Wolves, which is a little bit gutting. Pumped them in the second leg, though, to be fair. And there is one more cup final, isn't there, I believe? The Carabao Cup final against Liverpool. We won't watch it. We'll look at the stats. I mean, again, we actually go 1-0 down. They hold on to the lead for a minute. We then go a couple of goals up. They get a goal back with Diaz. And then obviously it is going to be the final. They get the last goal, actually. We actually go, it would be 4-1 up, right? With Ramos, Isaac, and also Havar having 2 penalties, by the way, just showing how lethal we are at pens. But overall, in terms of a rebuild, I am incredibly happy with how this has gone. I mean, we have completely transformed this club around. And when I say that, I don't mean they're a bad team or anything like that. I just mean we have completely transformed the way that what we've won. Basically, we've brought in loads of trophies. And in fact, I think we are going to go ahead and have a little look at this team. So this is what we have won then over these 4 years we have been here. The 2025 season, we were Carabao Cup winners, Premier League champions, runners-up in the FA Cup, and also the Community Shield winners. In the 2026 season, we were Carabao Cup winners, Premier League winners, also Champions League runners-up and Community Shield winners. And the 2027 season, we come in and we were Carabao Cup winners, Premier Division winners, FA Cup winners, and also Champions League winners. But I mean, the team we have left them with is absolutely incredible. Nothing short of that. They've got an absolute world-class 11. You can see here the tactic that I did use. The link is going to be in the description as always for you guys to download. There are some changes. So, for example, I changed the Volante. I had a deep line playmaker who's going to be on pass it shorter, dribble more, tackle harder, and also mark tighter. I changed the high defensive line from a much higher to a higher. Just a few tweaks here and there because, as always, no tactic is 100% plug and play. So if you download any of my tactics, anyone else's tactics in the scene, you have to make sure you are doing your own tweaks because you can't just simply plug and play a tactic because your players and my players are completely different. I go on holiday for majority of my testing. You'll probably play in your games, so you have to take it into account and tweak a tactic for your needs. But that is going to be it for today's videos, guys. I hope you got... But that is going to be it for today's video. I hope you guys have enjoyed today. If you have, please do leave a like on the video. Consider subscribing and turn on the notification bell. And also, if you never do want to miss an upload, you can also follow me on social medias, which you can find in the description below, where I post every single time I go live or when I publish a video. So enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you on Wednesday for another tactics video.